The Tolkien Road, Episode 45, The Silmarillion, Chapter 14, of Beleriand and Its Realms. Alright, go ahead. The Tolkien Road, 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 the Tolkien Road of Tolkien, the 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 Road of Tolkien The Tolkien Road.
The Tolkien Road.
The Tolkien Road. Hey there, fellow travelers. Welcome to the Tolkien Road, a long walk through the works and philosophy of J.R.R. Tolkien. On this episode, we continue our discussion of the Silmarillion with Chapter 14, of Beleriand and Its Realms. In this chapter, we get a detailed rundown of the geographical layout of Beleriand. It's not the most exciting chapter, but hey, that never stopped us from going on and on about something. And if you haven't already, how about leaving the Tolkien Road a rating and feedback on iTunes? There's no better way to say, thanks for the awesome podcast, guys. All right, then. Enjoy the show. All right, welcome to the Tolkien Road. John here, joined by Greta. Greta.
As always.
As always.
Mm-hmm.
As always, you are Greta.
As always. And as always, I am joining you
Yes.
on this here podcast.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. Right
on.
What's shaking? What's new?
What's shaking? What's new? What is new? Oh, golly.
You don't have to think that hard about it. I was just making small talk.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
It's like, I really can't think of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we got a new couch. That's new.
Not yet, really.
Well, we paid for it.
With all
We
that,
picked it out.
with all of that sweet moolah coming from the Tolkien Road podcast.
If only.
Yes.
Well, anyway.
We do it for the love.
Absolutely.
We do it for
The love of Tolkien.
That's right.
Yep.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty sweet, I guess.
It'll be here soon. I'm excited.
Yeah.
You know, I've been wanting a new couch for a while, so.
Yeah. Let's not talk about the couch a whole lot.
Okay. Well, it is what's new in my life, so.
No, okay.
I took your question literally. I'm sorry.
Never ask that question again.
Yeah, you can take that one off your list.
Not on the podcast. I'll
Well,
preface
it's not
it by saying, Greta, I don't really mean what I'm about to say, but what's new? Say nothing, say nothing, say nothing, say nothing.
Well, then, the listener's gonna think I just live this, totally boring, humdrum life.
No, they don't.
Okay. All
Because
right.
you do a Tolkien podcast every week. That's
True.
awesome.
That is true. Okay.
They'd be wrong if they thought that.
Why is... Yeah, okay.
What?
Nothing. I was going to talk about something completely irrelevant, and I stopped myself.
You did find your copy of
I
the
did.
Silmarillion that was hidden.
I'm
That couldn't
telling
be found
you.
a couple weeks ago.
Jeez. And you know what? The book that the kids and I ransacked the house for, not the Silmarillion, but a different book that we literally spent hours looking for the other day, just turned up randomly today. I'm telling you, if you want to find something, you just have to stop looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it will turn up. That's what happened with my Silmarillion. It's crazy. I walked in here the other day looking for a different book, and I was like, wait a second. I almost feel like some little ghost took it and hid it.
Mm-hmm.
And then returned it just to mess with my mind.
It's messed up.
Totally messed up.
It's a bad ghost.
But I got it back.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have 3 copies of the Silmarillion for 2 of us.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in case we lose another one.
By the way, now that I'm looking, did you move my Gandalf and my Hobbit Pez
That's what I was.
down?
That's the irrelevant thing that I was going to ask about, but I stopped myself.
Who's
and then you brought it
responsible
up.
for this?
I didn't do it. It must have been one of the chillins. Although I don't know who could have reached up there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It must have climbed.
It was the ghost. It must have been the ghost.
Bad ghost again.
That was the same shelf I found my copy of the Silmarillion on too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Officially, I think we have a haunted house.
All right.
We're a mischievous ghost
Sweet.
playing tricks on us and our Tolkien wear.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
He only messes with Tolkien things. Weird.
Weird. Maybe it...
What?
No. It wouldn't be Tolkien himself, would it?
I don't know.
Anyway,
Yeah.
moving on. So we're talking about chapter 14 of the Silmarillion tonight,
Yep.
of Beleriand and Its Realms. I don't know about you, Greta, but I mean this is a pretty like non-stop action-packed chapter going on here.
Whatever. It's like the ultimate snooze fest.
Yeah, it pretty much is.
I was going to tell our listeners that if you haven't already, make sure you get like a Mountain Dew or a cup of strong coffee if you want to stay awake during this because...
No, the podcast is going to be awesome.
Oh, is the podcast going to be awesome? Because I'm really
course.
curious about how you're going to make it awesome. Because
Because it's us talking about
I know,
Tolkien.
but about that chapter? Like, about mountains and hills and rivers?
Oh,
like,
ye of little faith. Oh, ye of little faith.
Yawn. All right. Well, so get some strong coffee if you're up for it. This is a good time of year to drink warm beverages.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tea, too.
If you say so.
It is. It is.
Let's do some poetry action.
Oh, yeah, let's do it. But first, you need to start it off right.
Oh, yeah.
Why do you never have it ready to go?
Sorry.
Jeez.
This is a hard job,
Whatever.
It's,
I'll just have to remind you next time, because this is just kind of unacceptable. Having to wait this long for one of my favorite songs of all time that I only get to hear once a week. There it is. There it is. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Haiku time.
going down the Tolkien road, going down the Tolkien road, going down the Tolkien... Can I come with my lyrics?
Haiku style. Haiku style. Haiku
Sorry.
style. Haiku time. Oh yeah.
Yes, it is haiku time.
It is haiku
It's
time.
also time to play paper, rock, scissors so we can figure out
It's
who goes
rock,
first.
paper, scissors. Paper, rock, scissors sounds so weird. Why can't you just say it like everybody
All
else
right, let's
says
just
it?
do it.
Rock,
we're
paper,
not going to
scissors.
go down that road.
Rock,
Paper, rock,
paper,
scissors, shoot. You
I win! I'm going first.
Go first.
Because I want to go first. But first, before I go first, I want to make sure that I'm getting a couple of pronunciations right here.
Pronunciations.
Yes, pronunciations. Is it Sirion? The river?
I believe so. Yeah, that's how I
And
say it.
Is it Gelion or Gelion?
It's Galeon.
It's Galeon?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Sirion and Galeon. All right. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Here's my awesome haiku for this riveting chapter 14. Swift, mighty, buoyant. Sirion and Gelion, aquatic beings. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty deep. I would not be surprised if you didn't quite understand it because it's pretty out there.
Well, those first three adjectives, I was kind of like ninja adjectives, like swift.
But then I
Awesome.
got to buoyant, and you
Yeah.
were like, "What?
What does that mean?
That's a curveball."
Yeah. So you liked the rivers, huh?
Well, what I
the
liked
rivers.
about the rivers was I really liked how Tolkien described them. And, like, you almost began to think that they weren't that they were like beings. Like they were like he spoke of them.
Yeah.
Like you would speak of people.
Yeah.
Like he really personified them, not as obviously as other personifications that I've read, but you do become to think of them almost as characters.
Yeah, I can see that.
So that's what I was going for.
Nice.
Thanks.
Well done.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
All right. Can I do mine?
I guess.
Okay, here we go. Land. Oh, so much land. Fingon, Finrod, Fingolfin. Noldor lords need realms.
That's good. That's really good. I like that. A nice summarization.
Yep.
Yep.
Summarizification.
Summarization.
That's right.
And, yeah, that's good.
All right.
Here we go with all those F names that I can't keep straight.
I know. It was kind of there's a few of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Josh sent me a tweet earlier in the day and said he wasn't sure. He thought he had missed an episode, and he wasn't sure, so he didn't quite get one in on time. I think not doing one last week because of Thanksgiving threw him off.
Oh, okay.
But Josh, if you want to go back, you can go onto the website and leave it whenever I get around. I haven't posted like the last few, like on the website, like the podcast episodes are posted, but I haven't posted them on True Myths, like the notes that go with them.
Slacking.
Yeah, no, I need to get those up so people, if they want to go back and post haiku, they can. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
All right. What are we doing?
That was thrilling.
We talk about thrilling. Absolutely action-packed.
Yeah.
All right. So, chapter 14 of Beleriand and Its Realms.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning...
There was.
Yes. So the first thing I want to point out is... I want to start with what really impresses me about this chapter.
Okay.
We're going to go the other way with it briefly, but what really impresses me about this chapter is how much it continues to show that one of Tolkien's specific gifts was his ability to describe landscapes and to and to evoke very real places, very real but imaginary places with words.
Yes.
Because it's quite obvious to me that he sees all of these places very clearly in his mind. Mm-hmm. He's not just being like, oh, there's some mountains over here and there's some stuff over...
Yeah.
Like,
this is an alternate reality.
Oh, yeah. And I feel like in his mind, he saw this very vividly. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And you get the same impression going through Lord of the Rings and all the different areas he describes there. We obviously spent several episodes going through, the different parts of like the Old Forest and then like the Barrow Downs and like it's just like every inch in his mind seems to be mapped, and he knows exactly what like vegetation is there, and and the other part of it is that impresses me, and I think this is just being kind of disconnected from nature and the land, is I don't have a lot of words for. I don't know, like when he talks about like, whenever I hear like old poets or something like that talk about like dales and glades and that kind of thing, I don't really know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I haven't spent enough time out in nature.
Right.
And even when I have, I don't know, people just don't seem to know the words for those things anymore.
Yeah.
We were hiking last week, actually a week ago today. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We went hiking in like a little nature preserve in the middle of nowhere in Kentucky, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful area. But I was just like thinking about like, okay, this is what a ridge is when we were on top of like, this particular thing. And I was like, okay, this must be a ridge because I can see how it would be described, how it would be called a ridge.
Right.
And like, this is not quite a mountain. It's more like a knob, it's not, just little things like that. So I just have to call out that I'm very impressed by Tolkien's ability to describe landscapes in a very detailed and rich and real way.
Yeah.
So you got to give him props for that.
Yeah, totally.
And I think the chapter like itself is fine. I think it's perfectly fine for someone to have wanted to do this. My problem though is more with the guys who edited this book, meaning Christopher, his son. Mm-hmm. And this is a minor quibble overall because I got to give props to Christopher for even making the Silmarillion happen after his father had passed away. Mm-hmm. But to Christopher Tolkien and the guy he edited it with, Guy Gavriel Kay, I just question the inclusion of this chapter. And now I think that maybe Tolkien had said that he wanted it included in there,
Okay.
but and I need to go back and read more of the history of Middle Earth so I can understand how and why they kind of put it together the way they did. But even so, it just seems like it breaks up the flow of the overall story.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's a few chapters in this book that could have been just cordoned off to appendices.
Yes, I
You know?
agree. I totally agree. Yeah.
And you would have had and then the Silmarillion itself would have been more or less one continuous story, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like you could have had one continuous story of the Silmarillion that, you know, and like the first 9 chapters kind of do a good job of that, with a few minor exceptions here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of material that could have just been like, let's put this in, you know, we'll have like 20 appendices, and,
Right.
you know, here's the lands of Beleriand, here's one about Ale and Yavanna, here's one about such and such, and then just have the Silmarillion be the actual story.
Yeah, and you can
know?
have like little like asterisks in the middle of the story chapters, right?
Mhm.
Where it comes, you know, where it mentions Beleriand, and say a little star that leads you to the bottom of the page. It says, if you want to know more about Beleriand and its realms, check out,
Right.
you know, go to page 1644, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would have been a good move.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I mean, I really was like, I was trying really hard to have a not bad attitude while
Mhm.
reading this. And I was really trying to, you know, like think about, okay, this is in here for a reason. And, you know, how does it fit in with what I've already read? And why, you know, there's got to be some good, important stuff in here. Where is it? What is it? But, you know, it's just so easy to get bogged down.
mm-hmm.
I mean, I found myself just skimming over a lot of it because I was like, you know, just all these names and places. And, I mean, the descriptions are beautiful, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot to process.
It comes off kind of like those parts of the Bible where it's like, and such begat such and
Right,
such, and
exactly,
such and such begat such and such, and it's
yes.
just like,
Yeah.
and I guess in a way, maybe that was part of what they were going for, because it's supposed to evoke this kind of ancient, you know,
Ancient
text.
history, yeah.
But yeah, I just feel like it's, it just seems a little out of place in the flow of the story, along with some of the other chapters. But this is probably the most egregious example of that. That being said, if anybody listening feels like we're wrong or knows, you know, maybe agrees with us, but knows why Christopher Tolkien chose to do it this way, then you know, let us know.
Yeah, please.
We'd be happy to hear that out. I think instead of going through each thing, I think the best thing to do is to go right to the map that's in the middle of this chapter,
Okay.
and try and help decipher that. Now, it's funny because this is like kind of a slightly zoomed in version of the map they give at the very end, and I think it was intended to be a little bit more simplified, but it's really it's not very simplified. You know, the map itself, it looks fine, but the words and everything are just all over the place. It's it doesn't really help kind of explain everything for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually when I months ago when I did my little online beginner's guide for the Silmarillion chapter by chapter, I made my own just awesome, very simple map of this very simplified map. So look at that bad boy. It's a piece of art, artistic masterpiece right there.
That's something to be proud of, Johnny.
So you can go check it out. If you'd like to buy a print of it, I am selling prints, so you can go check that out online.
Honestly, though, this is my kind of map.
That's what I'm talking.
I mean,
well, that's what I
really.
was like. I read this. I do not have a visual artistic skill in my body. That was not put into my DNA. But yeah, I wanted to simplify the simplified map here, because this just doesn't do it, unless you really, really already know the story of the Silmarillion, and then you can start to figure it out. But even then, it's just like, it's such a jumble in here of words that it's hard to understand what is what,
Yes.
Is there a place called Círdan Finrod?
Yeah,
You know?
I know. Yeah, I literally had to go back into the glossary and look up Cyrodiil. I was like, what is that, a place or a person? Like, what is that?
Do you know now?
Yeah, I know it's a person.
Person, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the only figures of the first age to survive into the third age, actually, into the age of hobbits.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. He's one of Feanor's sons, right?
No, he is actually, what is he? Let's see.
No.
You had to ask. He is a Teleri.
Oh.
Yeah. Right, because he's a ship guy.
Oh, I was
See,
thinking
yeah.
of Celegorm.
Celegorm.
Sorry. So I had to look him up too. So I was like, what in the world? Okay. See? I can't keep the sea name straight either.
Yeah, tell you what.
Alright.
Well, anyway,
Alright,
we've got...
so let's break it down.
yeah, so the map, what we have here, I think basically you can break down the realms into 6 key realms, okay?
So a realm...
It's kind of like
a kingdom.
Yeah, it's kind of like a kingdom, right?
Okay. It's like an area that's ruled by...
And you have cities and villages within that kingdom.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
So you start off and you've got the realm of Morgoth, which isn't really on the map. It's actually to the north of all of this.
Okay.
You could just call that the Iron Mountains.
Okay.
We'll read a little bit about those. We'll read a little bit about the Iron Mountains. I think that description of the Iron Mountains is pretty cool. And then you've got Hithlum, which if you go to the left, that little kind of area in there that's encased in kind of a V of mountains up at the top left. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Hithlum.
Yes.
Maybe Hithlum.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kingdom of Fingolfin and Fingon.
Okay.
All right. So that's the area they come to reside in. Then you have West Beleriand. And West Beleriand is where we remember from the last chapter, Finrod Felagund, who is the eldest son of Finarfin.
Mm-hmm.
Finrod, he goes and is really impressed with Menegroth, the home of Thingol and Melion, right? The Thousand Caves, right?
Oh, yes.
So he decides to go build a city like that in West Beleriand.
Okay.
And so
That's
that...
after his dream, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, right. It's kind of under the inspiration of Ulmo.
Right. Okay.
So he builds that in West Beleriand.
What was that called again?
Nargothrond. Right,
Okay.
so you can see that on the River Narg.
Yeah. Yes, I see that. Okay.
Yep. So and Nargothrond is one of the great cities. There's basically 3 great cities, 3 great elvish cities of Beleriand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nargothrond, Gondolin, which we don't really know much about yet. We're going to find out more about in the next chapter.
Okay.
And then Menegroth. Okay? Those are like the 3 great ancient cities of the elves. And
where is
Beleriand.
Menegroth?
Menegroth is right there where it says Dorioth, between Thingol and Melion. You see a little dot, and it says Menegroth.
Yeah, I see that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's West. So West Beleriand. That's a pretty large swath of land over there. It's basically all of the land to the west of the river Sirion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Finrod rules all of that. However, Círdan is kind of governs the coastlands over there to the far west, and Finrod and Círdan become friends and are very cooperative with one another. All right, so. Then you go over to East Beleriand, go across the River Sirion to East Beleriand, and this is a really large swath of land that's basically given to Feanor's sons. So you see over there, you can see like Medros, Celegorm and Curufin, Amrod and Amras, Maglor, Angrod and Egnor. I think those are all his sons. Let's see. I know Medros and Celegorm and Curufin are... Amrod and Amras are Caranthir... Where is he? I don't see him on there. Oh, there he is. He's over there by Thargalion. So this East Beleriand area over here is where Feanor's 7 sons go and they kind of set up their own little
Okay.
realms within this vaster realm. Okay?
Okay.
So you can kind of think of that. East Beleriand as the area of Feanor's sons.
Okay.
You have Doriath, which we talked about. That's the land of Thingol and Melion. Remember, that's got the girdle of Melion around it to where
Right.
nothing can come in unless basically she allows it, right?
Yep.
And then you've got Osiriand, which is not really shown on here. It's actually to even further east and kind of to the south than East Beleriand, and that's where the Green Elves are, make their home. So if you look over here, Osiriand is like down over here.
Okay.
Okay. And that's going to become the home of the Green Elves, they're not Teleri, they're not Sindar, they're not Noldor, but there's these elves that have kind of wandered over later.
I
right?
see. Okay.
Okay.
Now what about so the main realms then are Hithlum,
Mm-hmm.
West Beleriand, East Beleriand, and Doriath.
And Osiriand, which isn't on this map. but
Osiriand.
that's-
Okay,
yeah.
got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, when you really break it down, that's what's, I think that's what this chapter is all about. What we're trying to show here.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. Oh, and another place of note that hasn't been mentioned much yet is Vinyamar, which is over there. If you look at Nevrost, right here, Vinyamar. Over on the very edge. That's another important little kind of city area to mention. All right, so those are the realms. Let's read a little bit. So going back to the beginning of the chapter, I want to read this paragraph about what Melkor had done.
Okay.
All right. In the north of the world, Melkor had in the ages past reared Ered Engren, the Iron Mountains, as a fence to his citadel of Autumno. And they stood upon the borders of the regions of everlasting cold, in a great curve from east to west. Behind the walls of Ered Engren in the west, where they bent back northwards, Melkor built another fortress, as a defense against assault that might come from Valinor. And when he came back to Middle-earth, as has been told, he took up his abode in the endless dungeons of Angband, the hells of iron, for in the war of the powers the Valar, in their haste to overthrow him in his great stronghold of Autumno, did not wholly destroy Angband, nor search out all its deep places. Beneath Ered Angren he made a great tunnel, which issued south of the mountain, and there he made a mighty gate. But above this gate, and behind it, even to the mountains, he piled the thunderous towers of Thangorodrim, that were made of the ash and slag of his subterranean furnaces, and the vast refuse of his tunnelings. They were black and desolate and exceedingly lofty, and smoke issued from their tops, dark and foul upon the northern sky. Before the gates of Angband, filth and desolation spread southward for many miles over the wide plain of Ardgallen. But after the coming of the sun, rich grass arose there, and while Angband was besieged and its gates shut, there were green things even among the pits and broken rocks before the doors of hell. So, I just like that description of, especially how it talks about the Valar when they went through in the ages past and basically got rid of Autumno.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't delve deep enough into Angband to really get rid of it, and so when Melkor does come back, becomes Morgoth, he comes back with the Silmarils, he's able to raise up a new fortress for himself from these dungeons, the Hells of Iron, and then raises up these thunderous towers of Thangorodrim, right? These three giant mountains. Remember from the last chapter, this is where, from the sheer face of one of them, that's where he hung Medros.
Right, yes.
So there's that. The other thing I wanted to read was if you go forward a little bit to page, it should be the same page in your copy, 120. Actually, I'll have you read this. So, starting at "But the realm of Nargothrond."
Okay.
and then read the next paragraph after that too, and then stop.
Okay. But the realm of Nargothrond extended also west of Narog to the river Nenning, that reached the sea at Eglarest. And Finrod became the overlord of all the elves of Beleriand between Sirion and the sea, save only in the Fallis. There dwelt those of the Sindar who still loved ships, and Círdan, Círdan, the shipbuilder, was their lord. But between Círdan and Finrod there was friendship and alliance, and with the aid of the Noldor, the havens of Brithombar and Eglarest were built anew. Behind their great walls they became fair towns and harbors with quays and piers of stone. Upon the cape west of Eglarest, Finrod raised the tower of Barad Nimros to watch the western sea, though needlessly as it proved, for at no time ever did Morgoth essay to build ships or to make war by sea. Water all his servants shunned, and to the sea none would willingly go nigh, save in dire need. With the aid of the elves of the havens, some of the folk of Nargothrond built new ships, and they went forth and explored the great isle of Belar, thinking there to prepare a last refuge, if evil came. But it was not their fate that they should ever dwell there. Thus the realm of Finrod was the greatest by far, though he was the youngest of the great lords of the Noldor, Fingolfin, Fingon, and Medros, and Finrod Felagund. But Fingolfin was held overlord of all the Noldor, and Fingon after him, though their own realm was but the northern land of Hithlum. Yet their people were the most hardy and valiant, most feared by the orcs, and most hated by Morgoth.
So, I just called that out because I like how it talks about. There's some interesting things there about how Morgoth, he was never able to attack by sea because his minions all hated water, right?
Yes.
Water all his servants shunned, and to the sea none would willingly go nigh, save in dire need. And I guess that has to do with Ulmo and Ulmo's presence there.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a little bit of speculation, but I have to think that that's something that has to do with. I think it talked about way back early on that Morgoth, when he was Melkor, he didn't like the sea because he couldn't tame it. I think that's even going back to the Valaquenta, where it speaks about how he tried to. Melkor hated the sea, for he could not subdue it. It is said that in the making of Arda, he endeavored to draw Ossé to his allegiance, promising to him all the realm and power of Ulmo if he would serve him. So it was that long ago there arose great tumults in the sea that wrought ruin to the lands. So Melkor hates the sea,
yes.
And apparently that got passed on to his minions.
Yes.
You
guys, quick question here.
Yeah.
So when it's talking about how do you say it again? Círdan,
yep.
Círdan, the shipbuilder. So the burning of the ships, is this related at all? Did Círdan, was he there when those ships were burned?
Mm-hmm. No, Círdan's been in Beleriand the whole time.
Okay, so this is a different group of shipbuilders. This
right.
is not okay.
Yeah.
All right. But they're Sindar, not Noldor. I'm just wondering why does it make a point? Why does Tolkien make a point to say that between Círdan and Finrod there was friendship? Was that unusual or unexpected?
Hold on. Destruction of the havens after the Nirnath. I'm sorry, what was your question?
Why does Tolkien call out or make a point to mention that there was friendship between those two?
Between Finrod and
Círdan. Was that...
Well, because remember that with the Noldor and when they came into the land, there wasn't always friendship with them and the elves that were there already, right?
Because Círdan would be Sindar, is that right?
Círdan himself was a Teleri. Now I think the people he ruled were Sindar.
Okay.
Yeah, but he was a Sindar or a Teleri who who remain behind. I'm fairly
Okay.
certain that's the
Yeah, he says he's a Teleri.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm second guessing myself now, but I don't think I'm pretty sure he didn't ever go over to the Blessed Realm. Like he's
Okay.
he's not a one who returned or anything like that.
Okay.
But I also just like about how it talks about I like maritime areas, and it talks about how they built these great walls. They became fair towns and harbors with quays and piers of stone.
Mm-hmm.
Upon the cape west of Eglarest, Finrod raised the tower of Barad Nemros to watch the western sea. I just like how they build these towns upon the coastlands there.
Yes.
And that they went and they explored the great Isle of Balar, thinking there to prepare a last refuge if evil came. I like that they're going and exploring these realms. So it's not like everything in Beleriand. I feel like there's other stories about the First Age that can be told. They may not be as significant as the war regarding the Silmarils, but there are apparently these other kind of like little episodes that go on that could be told about, like the exploration of the Isle of Balar and that kind of thing. And of course, that's one of the things I love about Tolkien is all of the edges that that have yet to be filled in, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the people of Hithlum that the orcs fear the most. Is
Yes.
that correct? Okay.
Yeah, because those are the people of Fingolfin.
Okay.
And remember, he's the new High King of the Noldor.
Okay.
Because Medros, who it should have passed to, gave it to Fingolfin because Fingon saved Medros, right? Fingon, the son of Fingolfin, saved Medros.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Yeah.
Cool beans.
So I think that's about all that I had to say about this chapter.
Shortest podcast ever.
Just about. I mean, like, there's not a ton to say about it.
No, really not. It does mention. I got excited. It mentioned Baron and Luthien for like a minute.
Yeah, briefly.
Like briefly.
Well, that's the other part. Is it's like a spoiler for Baron and Luthien too, because like
yes.
That's the other part. Because it's like, and by the way, this is where they go and stay, and it's like, don't ruin the story. Like it hasn't even been told yet.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. Hopefully, we'll just forget. We'll just pretend like we didn't know that when we get there.
Okay. I'll probably forget between now and then anyway, so
Yeah.
it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Alright, so that's it?
That's it. Unless there's anything else you wanted to discuss.
No.
Okay.
No, I thought I was a little intrigued by the Green Elves.
The Green Elves.
This is the first we've heard of them, right?
No, we've heard of them a little more already. A couple of
Okay.
chapters ago.
Okay.
Where it talks about, I think when it talked the chapter of the Sindar.
Okay. Gotcha.
Now they aren't Sindar, but I think it figured it was worth mentioning them.
Yeah.
I think that was when it was. It may have been one of the other chapters.
Well, I thought it was interesting where I don't know, can I find it now? Where it talks about how people can, like, go through their lands, but not even see them, or, where did it say? Oh, it says the woodcraft
Yes.
of the elves of Osirion, which would be, okay, let me start here. In Osirion dwelt the green elves in the protection of their rivers. For after Osirion, Ulmo loved Gelion above all the waters of the western world. The woodcraft of the elves of Osirion was such that a stranger might pass through their land from end to end and see none of them. They were clad in green in spring and summer, and the sound of their singing could be heard even across the waters of Gelion. Wherefore the Noldor named that country Linden, the land of music, and the mountains beyond they named Arid Linden, for they first saw them from Osirion. So is that talking about the, it says the woodcraft of the elves. What does that mean, the woodcraft?
I think it just means that they their creations were so like
Camouflage.
yeah, like kind of they were so it's that idea of artistry, right? Like that Tolkien talks about in the letter that's at the beginning, where he talks about how the true art develops the inner potential and inner nature of something, and that's what elves in a large part represent for Tolkien is this spirit of true artistry that seeks to bring out, to expand, like kind of to fully develop the sort of latent potential in a thing, right? Not to exploit it, not to turn it into something for easy gain,
right?
But to truly like work with it and develop it into what it's meant to be, right? More fully develop it into what it's meant to be. So there's kind of a gracefulness, with it, and so I think it just goes to show that like they were very close to the to the woods that they inhabited, and they didn't like chop down a bunch of trees, but they like really made their homes within kind of the trees, and so it was hard to like
really know that they were there
for it to stand out exactly. They became one with the forest.
They became one with nature.
Yes,
they embraced it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, good call. I mean, there's little nuggets of goodness in here, just not a lot of excitement, not things that like are real huge and stand out, but there's little nuggets of goodness.
Yeah.
It's also interesting, the very last paragraph. The sons of Feanor under Medros were the lords of East Beleriand, but their people were in that time mostly in the north of the land. And it talks about Finrod Felagund coming into Assyrion often and won the friendship of the Green Elves, but none of the Noldor went ever over Arid Linden, while their realm lasted, and little news and late came into Beleriand of what passed in the regions of the east. So, it seems like the Noldor are kind of keeping to themselves, in a way. I'm sorry, not the Noldor, but well, I guess it is talking. I guess it is talking about the Noldor overall.
Yeah.
But in a way, they're all kind of like, I don't know. There's just all this tension between all the different groups of elves, and instead of building this great, vast, interconnected civilization, they just kind of each have their little realms.
Yeah.
And only a few of them venture out to try and, make something more and to, cross party lines and make friends with others. But,
I see.
Anyway.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
There was one other thing I wanted to ask you about, which was about when it's talking about the, I guess the paragraph right before that, where it talks about between the arms of Gelion was the ward of Maglor, and here in one place the hills failed altogether. There it was that the orcs came into East Beleriand before the third battle. Have we read about the third battle yet?
I think that was the one we read about.
Was that the one we read about in last chapter?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was just saying
the glorious battle, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because remember, that's the battle where the dragon comes out and it's not.
Oh, right, and it's not ready.
Yeah, it's not ready
It's not
yet.
fully grown. Right.
So it turns into this. That's the glorious battle is the one that the elves win, and then they set the siege of Angband.
Got it.
Right.
Okay. So I was just mentioning how the orcs got into Beleriand in the first place, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Alright. Cool. So where do you go from here? Is the next chapter more exciting?
Yeah, there's it's not like totally action packed, but it's got some more action that happens in it.
Okay.
Definitely. We're going to find out about the founding of Gondolin, and then Thingol is going to find out about the kinslaying. So
that's right. He doesn't know about that yet, does
right. Chapter 16 kind of is a little diversion to this figure named Meglin, so it's definitely kind of it focuses in on one particular character that we don't know anything about yet. And then chapter 17 is is where it starts talking about men, and then chapter 18 is where the story really picks back up again. So yeah, like I said, there's all these chapters in here that I think that's why so many people have a hard time getting through the Silmarillion, is because there's all these chapters that kind of interrupt the flow, you know?
Right. It doesn't flow very well. It doesn't flow like a normal story would.
Right.
Yeah. It just starts and stops and interjections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like if you could edit it down to just be, you know, certain chapters, you know, and then, like I said, and then just put everything else in the appendix, because it's all good stuff.
Yeah,
in and of itself. You want to do more research, but it's like just.
But if you're going to read something cover to cover, it's tough the way it's laid out.
It's already hard enough to get your bearings with the Silmarillion, and then you get thrown these curveballs, and you're just like, what happened? You know?
Yeah. It can be kind of, what's the word? Discouraging or frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, it's a good thing we have you here, Johnny, to lead us through.
Oh, well.
Help us see the light.
I do
in the
what
midst
I
of the
can.
darkness.
Yes. I do what I can.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks, John.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
And thank you for listening, dear listener.
Yes, guys. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Y'all are the best.
Mm-hmm.
Hope you guys had a lovely Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And, before we know it, it's going to be Christmas time. So this time of year is kind of crazy and fast.
You know, the weather outside is frightful.
I'm not here in Tennessee, but I'm sure in other places it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a lovely time of year.
Okay.
I'm sure Tolkien liked it very much too. Because he could sit inside and smoke his pipe and drink tea.
We're going to go on talking about the weather?
Yeah, it's a good.
For a while?
But no, that's alright. It would be nice if we had a white Christmas. I doubt we're going to have one, but... Anyway.
And now we transition into a new segment of the podcast where it's random thoughts on the current weather in Tennessee.
Yeah. We had one year.
Yeah.
Oh well. Alright, I'll stop.
Stop! Make it stop! Alright.
This was going to be the shortest podcast ever, but...
Could have talked about the weather for half an hour.
Yeah.
Alright. We will talk at you next time and give you a full update on the weather that's transpired since then. So.
Yep. That'll be my new segment of the podcast.
Peace out.
Bye, guys. Thanks for listening.
Please remember to check out truemyths.org for show notes and plenty of other Tolkien goodness. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, would you please leave the Tolkien Road a rating and feedback on iTunes? It's a great way to support the show and takes less than a minute. On the next episode, we continue our discussion of the Silmarillion with Chapter 15, of the Noldor in Beleriand, wherein the secret city of Gondolin is founded and Thingol learns of the kinslaying. Please tune in, and until next time, the road goes ever on.
Hey, Tolkien Roadsters. What's shaking? Greta Carswell here, just getting my groove on to the Tolkien Haiku theme music. Man, that's an awesome song. You know what else is awesome? Feedback on the Tolkien Road on iTunes. Oh yeah, you heard me right. iTunes feedback is one of the best ways you can tell the world about your undying love for this podcast. Because it lets those knuckleheads at Apple know that the Tolkien Road is where it's at. I mean, come on. Why didn't they know that already? Am I right? So next time you're waiting in line to pick up some delicious tacos, surfing the World Wide Web, brushing up on a Tom Bombadil factoid, or keeping it real in whatever way you keep it real, pop on over to iTunes and let the human race know what you think about the Tolkien Road. We're all dying to know, for reals. Party on, y'all!